boys and my ducks and drakes, welcome to the Credit Lake. Today we are reading chapters 9 and 10 of La La Land, a Cedar Sides fanfiction by Bekka911. If you'd like to support the author or the fic itself, look at the links in the description below. There's also a link to a Google form where you can recommend fics for the future down there. Any trigger warnings will also be in the description. I don't know if there'll be any in this chapter, but we'll see together. And with that, let's go on to chapter 9. Waking up that morning was a shock Roman wasn't ready for. There was no brightness to greet him with his eyes opened. Instead, his once grand room looked sad and dulled, as if overnight the glow had been stolen away. But he couldn't fix it. Zeus. He couldn't even fix himself. When he clicked his fingers, nothing happened. There was no pull on its energy, no magical transformations. When he tumbled out of bed and felt blindly for some inspiration, he grabbed nothing but air tainted away, dumb and secret tears. Internally, he was screaming about it. He was crying and begging and rasping. On the outside, he was blank, like an untouched canvas. Maybe someone would pin on him one day and turn him into something beautiful. He doubted it. Slowly, painfully, he tugged on his suit, fixed his hair, slapped on a smile. Rough around the edges, he thought, staring at himself in the mirror. Too bad he wasn't a diamond on the inside. He was just a prince. Just Roman. Just here. No. He shook himself and tried to brighten his face, just a little. He didn't think it worked, but at least he could claim he tried. Trying and failing was worth more than just failing. That was what he had been told. It wasn't necessarily what he believed. When he made it to the kitchen, the others were already there. Roman. Virgil greeted coolly, focusing more on his pancakes Patton had placed in front of him than the royal. Decided to quit your moping. Princey didn't bother to answer, just pulled open the fridge and grabbed a water bottle. He wasn't thirsty, but he'd been pretty inconspicuous if he collapsed. He glanced at the pancakes, but he could just envision the ashy taste on his tongue and his stomach roiled. Maybe later. Roman? Patton said hesitantly. You want to eat something? He wanted to say no. It was sitting on his tongue, but Patton looked so hopeful and scared that he just couldn't refuse. Yeah, he relented tiredly. Sure, Patton. The discomfort was worth it just to see Patton smile brightly and bustle off, dishing up some food on a plate. Roman ignored the small huff from Virgil and sat, shoulders hunched. Roman, Logan started. I do believe we all owe each other some apologies after the, incident from earlier. The three of us have already talked to each other about it, and That's nice, Roman said absently, picking at the table. Well, yes, but here you go, Patton announced cheerfully, sliding the plate in front of him. Roman looked down at it disdainfully. If he concentrated just enough, he could almost see a black sludge hiding from him. Sludge made from ash and dust and broken dreams. Regardless, he forced down 2 pancakes and managed a watery grin as Patton whisked the plate away. Thomas is planning a video, he told the others. Be prepared for the summons. Ooh, I love our videos, Patton gushed. We always end up closer as a family. Patton, Logan said, straightening his glasses. It really isn't that exciting. Patton glared at his fellow's side. I'm appreciating life, he said, defensively. Try it sometime. It wasn't mean, and Logan had a small smile on his face as he sipped out his tea. Roman nodded to himself, then faced Virgil. You were wrong, he said. I am not left brain, right brain. Those two are. Then he got up and walked away. He wandered down to his room and stood outside the door. It used to open automatically for him. It reminded him how very little he had left. He walked away from his room and made his way to his studio to check in on Thomas. His host was currently engaging in a conversation with Joan, which wasn't a problem. Roman was ignoring the talking until... That was an unimaginative joke, Sanders, Joan said. Roman froze. Unimaginative? But imagination was Roman's job. He'd done it. He'd fed Thomas ideas and materials, and yet unimaginative? He left, stumbled back towards the room, but expended up in the kitchen. Roman? Patton said cautiously. You okay, buddy? Roman didn't answer, just stared and stared and stared and... Yo! Singing Beauty, come back to Earth. Virgil was watching him carefully when Roman blinked himself back into the present. Unimaginative. You good? But he couldn't say. Couldn't tell them how he failed. He couldn't do it. Roman, please, Patton said. We need to talk about this. I don't want another Virgil. Virgil flinched. Something lit up inside the royal, a flare of anger and bitterness. Another Virgil? He spat. No, I am not another Virgil. Virgil's the only Virgil. God, it's always him with you, isn't it? Oh no, Virgil's upset. That's okay, we'll fix him. That's fine, guys, but you need to stop comparing everything else to Virgil, because I am not him. There was silence. Then there was a shuddering sob. Roman turned and fled. Chapter 10. There was something in the corner of his room. It was small, slender. Roman stared through the darkness and ignored the sighing static in the air around him. The figure was familiar in a way that family members are familiar. He knew the shape, remembered the niggling feeling that was eating at his heart. Hello, Dylan, he said quietly. The figure moved, steps unsteady and jolting. Hello, Roman. The voice was raspy and weak, bloodshot eyes gleaming in the dull air. Roman looked away. You've summoned me again. Roman wanted to deny it. He didn't. How long are you staying this time? I'm here for as long as you want me here. But I don't want you here. Are you sure? And no, he wasn't really sure. If it was his downfall every time, he was never sure. Never confident enough to dispel his own demons, even though he fought everyone else's. He slipped out of his bed and stood on shaky legs. Go easy, he pleaded. I don't think I'm as strong as I was last time. How strong were you last time, Roman? The royal's eyes closed. I don't know. His voice was strained, and the darkness at his words up. Sometimes he felt like nothing ever got past the darkness around him. He did his best to ignore his old friend, his oldest enemy. What do you call one who was both the reason you needed to fight and the one you were fighting? Do you call them family? Or the true person tucked behind the walls of insecurity? Slowly, he changed into a simple pair of jeans and a white top, turned gray by time. He wasn't willing to suit on his suit. Not today. Maybe not ever. That'd be ironic. He hesitated when he opened his door, fighting the urge to look over his shoulder. They can't see you, can they? I don't know, Roman. Can they? He sighed and walked out the door. The constant buzz of static went quiet in his ear as he approached the kitchen. He had to apologize for before. He had to apologize for a lot of things. He had to explain. There was a tug on his shoulder that reminded him of what? Exactly. He was carrying with him. There's no way for him to enter Thomas's imagination now. It would destroy everything. When he walked in, only Logan was sitting at the table, reading a book. Good morning, Roman, the trade greeted without looking up. Have you recovered after yesterday? I'm fine, Roman said. Where are the others? Logan adjusted his glasses and turned the page. Thomas is making a video with them. Some kind of emotional overload. I deduced that I would not be needed. Roman wanted to say something about that. Instead, he grabbed an apple and bit into it. I wanted to apologize for before. he mumbled around the chunk. It was quite unfair of me. I'm not used to losing my composure like that. Logan turned another page. I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. Pennon was quite distressed by your unusual outburst of emotion and anger. I tried to explain that you were stressed and tired, but Virgil insisted that he take care of it. There was a tired chuckle from behind Roman, and you winced. Logan turned to another page. For a while, it was quiet. Only the sound of breathing and turning pages, and the overwhelming sound of white noise. Logan never gave any sign of noticing anything amiss, but as Roman turned to walk out, the logical trait cleared his throat. If anything were to be bothering you, he said hesitantly, Patton is quite insistent that you talk to someone about it. Logic might help you. Logic can explain away a lot of things, Rowan agreed heavily, hearing a rattling inhale from beside him. But not everything. It wasn't a rejection, and it wasn't acceptance. It would ensure the offer remained. Rowan could use an escape from the hell inside his head. He fought with himself for a moment, debating whether to work with Thomas's imagination and dreams, or interrupt the current video. Another, slightly louder part of him shouted that he return to his room and stare at Dylan until he was conjured again. He found himself sitting on his bed, lights on, staring at a familiar face. The royal's doubt was a mess. Black hair was thin, strangly and greasy, a messy nest of stress on his head and terrible thoughts. Lines married a once attractive face, and high cheekbones were sharp with malnutrition. Black eyes were bleak with emptiness. Princey found way too familiar. It was scary how much of himself he could see in the ghost in front of him. There he was in the bag's under his eyes. There was a slumped shoulder and raw lips trembling from the stress of holding back critical words. What if you don't go away this time? Roman whispered. It was probably his biggest fear. What if I can't beat you again? Dylan stared right back at him sorrowfully. That's not up to me, he told the ragged trait. I'm sorry, Roman, but this is something you have to do yourself. I can't! The royal felt tears bubble to life. Dylan, I can't do it again. Not now. You have to. I can't. Dylan didn't say anything. To that, and both creativity and doubt existed in perfect harmony. Just a moment. Thank you all so much for listening. If you'd like to support the author, the links will be in the description below, along with my links if you'd like to support me. My Etsy shop is down there if you'd like to buy some really cool baited stuff. Yeah, that is literally all to say. Subscribe if you'd like to stay tuned for next week's episode, and once again, thank you for watching. Much like Roman trying to stare at Dylan, do your best.